This episode is brought to you by Goals.com, the sales performance platform built to help teams stay focused, motivated, and on track. While most CRMs just track data, Goals.com drives real results. It's simple, affordable, and designed to help your sales team hit targets faster, without the headache of complex setup or costly consultants. Whether you're using a CRM or not, Goals.com works seamlessly to elevate your performance. Book a fun, fast demo today at Goals.com.
Welcome back to the Goals.com podcast, where we dive deep into what drives high-level sales performance. Today's episode is something a little different and a whole lot exciting. We're joined by Kate Willis, Vice President of Commercialization at Neurovalens, a cutting-edge health tech company that's literally changing the way we think about sleep, anxiety, and brain health. Kate's leading the U.S. launch of Modius Sleep, a non-invasive, non-drug device that's FDA cleared and designed to help people with chronic insomnia get real, lasting rest. No pills, no implants, just smart science and powerful innovation. In this episode, we're talking about what it takes to bring breakthrough medical devices to market and how to lead cross-functional teams through uncharted territory, and why bold commercialization strategy is just as important as bold product innovation. So if you're in sales, marketing, medtech, or just someone who wants to know what it looks like to launch the future, we've got a killer conversation ahead. Let's dive into it with Kate Willis. Kate, how are you?
Great. How are you, Andrew?
I am good. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Kate, you've had a fascinating career in commercialization. What first drew you into the world of health tech, and what keeps you inspired today?
Yeah, so I have a little bit of different of a background. I started on a Broadway stage in my former life. So I was a theater major, but I think what's always been really important to me is connecting with people. And so when I made that transition, it was important to me that, I was working in a space and was going to be passionate about what I was doing. So as a performer, you're storytelling, you're impacting people's lives by them coming to the theater and kind of escaping their world, their day to day, and having that impact. And I wanted to do something that also, was impacting the human side of things. And for me, getting into healthcare was a perfect fit because I liked impacting people's lives. And I always tell people I could have sold anything, but I wanted to do something that really had purpose. And it was something that I was passionate about.
I love that. What's one early lesson from your career that still shapes how you lead today?
Yeah, so I think this is pretty common of most young people when they first start out. You think you can do everything on your own. You think, I'm going to come in and I'm going to be, I'm going to win President's Club and I can do it all on my own and I don't need anyone else. And as much as you want to believe that, you're going to go so much further with a team. And I think it's really learning to collaborate, lean on your colleagues, find a mentor. And the more that you can collaborate with others, the farther you're going to go than going alone. So I think my advice would be to, lean on others, and you can't go it alone. So I think, that was something very early on that was a good lesson.
Sure. How do you personally stay motivated and focused when launching such groundbreaking products in high stakes markets?
Yeah, so I think it's mostly about purpose and perspective. The purpose is pretty easy, especially with what I'm doing now, because you're having a profound impact on people's lives. But I think you also have to keep perspective and know that, especially if you're in the startup world, it is a roller coaster out there and you can't let little thing rattle you. You have to just really focus on the things that you can control and, keep that perspective, because at the end of the day, we're here to help patients. And if you keep that focus top of mind, then I think you're going to be successful.
For sure. Modius Sleep is a truly innovative product. Can you walk us through the go-to-market strategy for bringing it to the U.S. healthcare system?
Yeah, so it's been a really fun ride launching Modius Sleep. And I think it's because it's a whole new category in the treatment of chronic insomnia. Traditionally, there's been medication, and then there's been CBTI, which is cognitive behavioral therapy. And so our go-to-market strategy has really been dual fold in the sense that you have our direct to consumer strategy where patients have become their own advocates, they're looking for solutions, and they're going online to do that. And then we're also focused on clinicians and sleep centers and kind of that more traditional route that you would see in med devices. And then, of course, we're working with Veterans Health. We have a contract. We're on contracts within the VAs across the country. So that's another important channel to us, especially as we launch future indications in the future.
So, what were some of the biggest challenges you faced in commercializing a non-invasive neurostimulation device, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, so I think it's really just about raising awareness to both patients and clinicians that the technology even exists. Um, Again, traditionally, it's been medication, it's been CBTI. So on the one hand, it's really the awareness piece. The way that we've really overcome that is by providing, profound clinical evidence, working with different societies and thought leaders, and really establishing strong voices in the sleep space that understand the technology, use the technology, and then can also advocate on our behalf.
Sure. How do you balance educating both clinicians and consumers when launching a product that's never been seen before in the market?
Yeah, it is a fine balance because on the one hand we have the consumers and we need to, you know, certainly address the consumers and speak to them where they're coming from and have the appropriate language that they understand. And then on the clinician side, they want really more advanced technical understanding of the mechanism of action of the technology or maybe a deeper dive into the clinical studies. But that being said, patients have become well more educated and they're savvy and they want the information too. So we're sending our clinical trial that was published in brain stimulation, we're sending that to patients pretty often. We had a 93-year-old patient that had done all of her research and filed a claim with her Medicare Advantage plan through Aetna and got it covered. So it's amazing to me how patients are really, on the consumer side, have become their own advocates and will do their own research.
You got to be on your game.
I know.
From your perspective, what makes Modius Sleep different, not just from other sleep aids, but from other health tech products overall?
Yeah, so I think one of the primary thing with Modius Sleep is that we're actually addressing the root cause of insomnia. So we're going and we are activating through the vestibular nerve, the portion of the brain that controls your sleep center and your circadian rhythms, where other treatments are really just sedating the problem, whether you're using a medication like Ambien or you're drinking wine or THC. There's a lot of people that use gummies. You're kind of just masking the problem and you're not actually treating it. And then on the tech side, you've got a lot of trackers, wearables, things like that will maybe evaluate your sleep or say how many minutes you're in a deep sleep or REM or those kinds of things. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really solve the problem. It may give you more information, but it's not actually treating the insomnia.
Right. You lead commercialization, but that spans marketing, sales, clinical, and regulatory. How do you foster alignment across all those teams?
Yeah, that can be tricky, especially since half of our team is in Belfast, Northern Ireland. So on top of that, we're also dealing with time differences and cultural differences. But I think the key is just absolute transparency, honesty, communication is key. We have standing meetings, cross collaboration, cross functional teams get together on a regular basis. I head over to Belfast probably about every 4 to 6 weeks, and I'll be heading over there at the end of the month. So I think it's just really a high level of communication to make sure that everyone is aligned. We know what one team is working on so that no one's really caught off guard and we're being as efficient as possible.
What advice would you give sales leaders who are trying to get their teams excited about selling disruptive and unfamiliar technology?
Yeah, I think you just always have to go back to the why we're doing this. Why are we showing up every day? Why does this matter? For us at Neurovalens and Modius Sleep, we're really disrupting a market in a number of ways, in part through going direct to consumer and reaching patients directly through social media ads, through different ways of how we connect with the consumer on their own. And, we're also disrupting in the sense of this new technology where this treatment hasn't been available for patients. We're not doing your standard medication route or your cognitive behavioral therapy. It's really disruptive. And why does that matter? It's because if you can't sleep, it impacts your entire life. And a lot of people that are great sleepers take it for granted. And if you can't sleep, it affects your mood, your cognitive ability, how you communicate with others, your relationships, your overall health. So I think when we go back to why we do what we do, and you think about that purpose, it drives the motivation across the board.
How do you think about building high-performing commercial teams? What traits do you look for when hiring and or promoting?
Yeah, so I look for really two key aspects, and I would say it's curiosity and resilience. I think the best people in the space, and whether it's sales leaders, somebody in marketing, no matter what kind of department they're in, is somebody that's naturally inquisitive. They're going to ask a lot of questions. They're going to always want to seek answers or challenge the status quo or come up with ways to identify pain points, make things better. And then I would also say being resilient. So, I mean, I'd hire anybody that was a former actress because we're so used to being told no and rejected through our auditions just right there on the spot. So I think you have to be very resilient and roll with the punches. And, you're going to get told no a lot. You'll get rejected. Things won't go your way. And it's how do you respond to that? How do you pick yourself up and keep moving forward?
Yeah. Healthcare is notoriously slow to adopt new technology. What trends are you seeing that give you optimism about faster adoption cycles?
Yeah, so I think what's really exciting, and I think we've seen this post-COVID, is patients just becoming more of their own advocate. They are getting online, they're asking questions, they're doing things where in some instances they're just completely bypassing their physician, or they're finding a physician online through telehealth. They're getting access to so much information, access to pharmaceuticals, access to new technologies. And as I mentioned, we had a 93-year-old patient who, bless her, she's all over it and, advocated for herself, not only to get the technology, but also to get it covered by her Medicare plan. So I think that's really encouraging. It's just seeing people really taking ownership of their healthcare.
Yeah. What's something most people misunderstand about bringing medical devices to market, especially in the US?
Yeah, see, I love this question because I spent a good deal of my career working in market access, reimbursement, and government affairs. And so I think the biggest misconception is people think, oh, we got FDA approval, like pop the champagne, everything's great. And it is great to get that milestone, but ultimately, that's just step one, because then you need to figure out who's going to pay for it. Is the consumer going to pay for it? Is Medicare going to cover it? Is there an existing code? Does it reimburse? Do you need to get a new category? And then you're looking at commercial coverage and commercial payers. So I think the biggest misconception is, oh, we got FDA approval. Now it's just we're going to just take off and soar. But that's just step one, and really getting reimbursement and coverage is key to the success of the product.
Just getting to the starting
That's
line.
right.
Looking ahead, do you see the commercialization of neurostimulation evolving the next 3 to 5 years?
I really do. I think it's really the wave of the future. I mean, not only are, we've got our products where we're in the space of, we have an approval for chronic insomnia. We have our second approval for generalized anxiety disorder, Modius Calm, which will launch later this year. And then we have our third indication for PTSD, which is under review by the FDA. So, and that's just the work that we're doing out of Neurovalens. There's all kinds of wearable stimulations for everything from overactive bladder to Parkinson's to pain management. I just think there's so much potential that is there, that lies in the neurostimulation world, and especially in the wearables, because people want solutions that they can do at home. I think they're less likely to want to go in for procedures. So I think there's going to be a shift into the wearable neurostimulations that we're going to see over the next 3 to 5 years.
It's exciting.
It is.
What's one piece of advice you'd give to a first-time sales rep entering the health tech world today?
I would say, do not ever give an answer if you're not sure. There's in that world, there's no fake it till you make it, in the sense of performing. You better know the answer, and if you don't, you better just be honest and say, I will get back to you. That being said, you need to be a student of your product. You need to know it inside and out. You need to know your competitor's product, and you really need to do your homework to gain credibility, because again, this is people's lives. I mean, if you're standing in the OR with a surgeon and they turn to you and ask a question, this is critical. So you can't fake it. You better show up and know your stuff. And if you don't, you better own up to that and tell them the truth and say you'll get back to them as soon as you can.
For sure. What's a book, podcast, or resource that's influenced your leadership or go-to-market approach?
So I think one of the, I've done a lot of international travel recently, and I wanted something that was kind of a light read, and I had heard it. I kind of heard about it and people were reading it, and it was the book Let Them by Mel Robbins. And I think what's important about that is it kind of is a great reminder that, you know, you can't control other people's reactions. And it's so important to, you know, focus on your own actions, let people be who they are, and just, it really helps you stay grounded and realize that, you know, you can't get caught up and derailed in things that you can't control. And that's so important, whether you're, you know, launching a product, new to the market, hiring a team dynamics is you really just have to let people be who they are, and you show up and be your best self. And you know, you can't control other people.
I'll have to check that out. Well, Kate, that is a wrap. We appreciate you being here. Is there anything else you want to say about Modius Sleep or Neurovalens?
Yeah, I would just say if you're interested in learning more about Modius Sleep or Neurovalens as a company, go to Neurovalens.com. There's all kinds of information on the website about the technology, how you can get it if you are a patient that qualifies for the device. It is available here in the US. It is available by prescription, and we can provide a physician to you through our online platform if you don't have one of your own. So check it out, and you can certainly hit me up with any questions about Modius Sleep or anything that I can share from a leadership perspective.
All right, Kate, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, Andrew. I appreciate it.
All right, and that's a wrap on another episode of the Goals.com podcast. A huge thanks to Kate Willis for taking us behind the scenes of what it really takes to bring groundbreaking health tech to market, and for reminding us that great commercialization is part science, part strategy, and a whole lot of grit. Whether you're leading a sales team, launching a new product, or just trying to get a better night's sleep, we hope you're walking away with a few new tools in your kit and a fresh dose of inspiration. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to follow, share, or leave us a review. And as always, keep chasing progress, keep setting bold goals, and we'll see you next time on the Goals.com podcast.
This episode is brought to you by Goals.com, the sales performance platform built to help teams stay focused, motivated, and on track. While most CRMs just track data, Goals.com drives real results. It's simple, affordable, and designed to help your sales team hit targets faster, without the headache of complex setup or costly consultants. Whether you're using a CRM or not, Goals.com works seamlessly to elevate your performance. Book a fun, fast demo today at Goals.com.